Hello, you beauties. Oh my goodness, I have met some amazing people online, and one of them is Jane from Snapdragon Life, who I talked about in my last video that I was watching. She's just sent me something amazing. Look at this. It's a Gudrun dress. Isn't it gorgeous? It's got a pocket in it. Oh, isn't it lovely? It's just perfect for me. She said it had been in a charity bag pile and she saw what I was wearing and thought I'd love it, and I do love it. It's beautiful. Look at the pattern on it. Isn't it gorgeous? Oh, I can't wait to wear it. It's going to be just perfect. What a lovely dress for winter. So happy. And thank you all for your lovely comments on my last video. Just pop this down. About my clothes that I was wearing, so I thought I'll show you what I'm wearing today. So today I've got on, it's a dress from Cindy's shop from Sage and Thyme, and I've teamed it up with, this is an underskirt that I made. I really think it's cute. It's got little roses on it to try and keep me warm because it's cold today, and I've got my spotty pants on. Of course I've got my leg warmers on, and I'm going to pop on that crossover jumper out my last video, the white one that a few of you commented on. That crossover jumper cost me £1 from the charity shop. I couldn't believe it. So charity shops have gone really expensive over the last few years, I find. But here in Lancaster we have one. It's a hospice shop and everything in it is £1. Like everything. And sometimes it's very hit and miss. Sometimes you go in and there's nothing, and then other times you find gems. So that white crossover jumper that I'm actually going to wear today over this was just £1, and I love it. It makes me feel, I don't know, it just makes me feel like I'm doing this, aren't I? Because that's how it makes me feel. I can't actually put it into words, but it's a lovely jumper. I just love it and I keep wearing it. So I thought I'd show you what I'm wearing today. And then I'm going to show you what I've been making for the Portal Leith shop. And I've also got a fair coming up in the beginning of December, Christmas fair. Don't really do fairs anymore. But this is a local one, and I thought I'll just give it a go. And it was only £10 for the stall fee. So I thought that's not that bad, is it really? So I've been making some things for the fair and for Portal Leith, so I'll show you them now. So these are what I've been making. Aren't they cute? They're like wooden boxes. I've been decoupaging the top of them. I've done these two so far. I don't know which one's my favourite. And inside, they're not finished yet, but they're full of dried flowers and little magical abundance bottles. And there's going to be all sorts of things. Oops, there's going to be all sorts of things nestled in them. One of my flowers is trying to escape. And these are the flowers that, you know, when I did the Inspiring Women Day, these are the dried flowers from then. Aren't they lovely? So I'm going to add things to them as well. So there's them, and then I've been making these money spell bottles. And I've also made a money and abundance box. I should have shown you this before I wrapped it up, but in there is all sorts of things like bay leaf, a money spell, a money jar, affirmations, a coin, all sorts of stuff in there. And then let me just grab it. I've started making a new zine. Look. This is going to be a fairy zine. A zine all about fairies. I'm so excited. So this is the first page that I'm making. So it's on card and I cut and stick on the top. And sometimes I write on here, or I'll scan this in and then type on it. But I'm going to do 8 different pages like this. This is my first one. So yeah, a fairy zine will be coming soon. Good morning from Assembly Arts Studio. So I'm all set up today to teach a pigment making workshop out of simple things you can find in your home. Let me just move, oh, wrong way, let me just move that up. So simple things that you can find in your home, like turmeric, beetroot, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to do a paint workshop today. This is a terrible background, isn't it? Look at that with that bright light and the fire alarm. Where else can I put us? Let's put us somewhere better. Is this a better spot? Maybe, I don't know. So today it's the pigment making workshop and I'm really looking forward to play an experiment. This is a wonderful space. You've seen me in it before. You can hire this room off Assembly Arts and it's got everything that you need. It's got like this huge table in the middle that seats 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 people, maybe 15 at a push. And more importantly, it's got a sink, and when you're doing art things it's really important that you've got a sink. And also it's got lots of easels, so if you wanted to hire it to do paint workshops where you're not on a flat table but you're on the easel, you can do. Let's pop you back down. So yesterday me and Jane went to Wicked. Oh, look at this light shining on me. Oh. Let's move up. Jane and I went to Wicked at the cinema in Blackpool. Oh my gosh. So in the beginning we were both looking at each other like, what is this? What have we come to? Because it's a musical and I didn't realise it was a musical. Of course it's a musical in the West End. Why I didn't put 2 and 2 together, I don't know. But we persevered and oh my god, it was brilliant. I'm just going to sit down. I'm taking you with me while I sit down. We persevered and it was absolutely brilliant. We loved it. We came out just buzzing, just like so excited. I had to stop recording then because one of the participants came in early. But what I was saying was Wicked was amazing, and if you've not seen it, I highly recommend you go and see it. It's fantastic. It's in 2 parts. So this was part 1 and part 2 is out next November. So good. Such a good film. And you know when you're watching a film you get lost in it and you forget where you are? It was one of those kind of films for me. So I'm just showing you on the table here all the different things that I had ready for the participants of the Unleash Your Wild Creative Woman. And here I am mixing some beetroot and bicarb. I think it was baking powder actually, mixing baking powder. And I got all the participants to mix different paints with different things like lemons, baking powder, vinegar, to make their own paint colours. Downstairs in Assembly Arts they have a gallery exhibition space, and this exhibition was amazing. I absolutely loved it. So whimsical. It's by Alice Evans and it's on until the 5th of December. So if you are in Lancaster, do pop in and have a look. The use of colour in her work, the whimsical birds that she creates, the way she adds copper leaf, everything about it was just beautiful. And it's more in depth than that. There's a big long bio about what's happening. You can also find her on Instagram as Alice Evans Artist. So as you can see, everywhere's a tip. I've got bags under there from my art class that I did. I've got all this stuff on here from zine making, the scrapbooking. All my stuff over here is all muggled up, and it's just a tip. And what I've realised is that I've got I really love old things, but I've got them mixed up with IKEA things, because when we moved here I had to give a lot of my furniture away because it didn't fit, because this is a smaller house. I don't actually like this mismatch of stuff, so I love this old table, that's really cosy. But these bookshelves, even though they're brilliant and they're good storage, they're really modern. I'd really prefer a really old bookshelf. And then I've got this table that's modern because it's practical. But then behind here, hidden, I don't even know if you can see, but behind here I've got this gorgeous, let me put the light on, this gorgeous set of drawers, which, oh sorry about the hand, which my friend painted many years ago. And they're beautiful. You can't even see them because they're hidden behind all this junk. So I've decided, in my wisdom, that I am going to, I'm just going to take you in the other room, change everything round. So in here's a tip as well. So you can see that it's not always all perfect and lovely. And I've been working from my computer in here, but it's actually cold because that's the back door. And then the stairs are over there. So, and then that's the door we just came in, and then we've got the kitchen door here. So it's actually really quite cold. And look, that's a really nice piece of furniture, but again, it's mixed in with modern stuff. So I know it's a big job, but I think I'm going to change my house around again. I do this often. Look how much better this looks. Honestly, it's like I've gained loads of space. I put the new winter curtains up today as well. Oh, I was at it all day. I tell you what, so happy with the results. So I finally feel like I've got a workspace to create beautiful artwork at. And then in the back room, it's full of the modern furniture, but it's not finished yet. And this is what it looks like the next day. I got up and I came downstairs and I was like, oh, hello room, hello. So lovely, really lovely. And I did a little bit of work on my table last night and it was really lovely. And I packed a few orders on there as well. And it just feels more like me. I want you to show you all the little detail-y bits that make me just happy. They just make my heart happy. I'm so grateful that I'm with a partner who loves the way that I decorate things, and that my plants grow really well here, and I've got all sorts of beautiful things, and just having this space now really feels like me. And I don't think that I want to change it around again. But we'll see. In a few months' time. We'll see. But at the minute, I'm like in love. And I am embodying the signature of all things. If you've not read that book, go and read it. It's one of my favourite books in the world. It's really good. And I've got a Pinterest board also called The Signature of All Things. I love collecting other people's art because it just makes me smile when I look at it, and nature art's my thing. That's Petronella, that puppet. I got her years ago, way over 20 years ago, when I went to Whitby on holiday with the children when they were little. And I've got other people's art on here, lots of different ones. That's a piece that I painted that I'm in love with. Lots of crystally bits in here that are going to either go back in the ground or be given away. And this is my money spells that I was making in my last video, and obviously Ganesha, the remover of obstacles. But look at it. Oh, I'm just in love, just so happy and so grateful for this lovely home. And it just shows that even in a rented home, you can make it your own and you can make it beautiful. I have been making some mushroom and star garlands, and these are going to be for sale at the fair that I'm doing at the Gregson. The Gregson is the building that you saw where the folk band was playing earlier when we went out for dinner with my middle son. These are also for sale on my Etsy shop if you want some, and I've got some important news about Etsy, so do listen towards the end all about that. Start again. Shuffle up, Budgie. Shuffle up. That's so funny. Good boy, lie down.
We're going to rule the world.
We are. Come on.
And you want to capture that? Yeah, the soul. And Meryl Streep says that about acting.
Does she?
Whenever she takes on a character, it's about finding herself in that character. So what would Meryl be like if she'd had that life, like that upbringing, lived in that area, in that kind of house, that kind of job, those relationships. Like, it's interesting to do that.
That's why she's probably such a good actress. Shut it. I used to write prompts on my hand, you know, so I'd remember. Oh my god. I couldn't do a movie or anything, I'd be useless. If I could just make it up, I'd be alright.
But in films, you don't actually need to learn your lines that well. No, I mostly did film. You just learn that scene, and then they stop filming, and you're like, wait, what was that next line? What's the next? Yeah. Oh, this is really nice. From the store in the market, yeah.
Could do with a bit of cinnamon or something in it. Give it a bit of a spicy. Oh, we had such a lovely time, and next time I will show you some of Lucy's amazing work. Honestly, when she showed me what she was doing, I actually my eyes filled up because it was so beautiful. After she'd gone, I made myself a cup of tea and I had a little look through my Natural Magic book. It's one that I go back to over and over again. It's such a good book. I absolutely love it. I'll show you the cover in a moment. And just to have that little downtime on my own with a cup of tea and a book to reset. So I mentioned earlier that I'd tell you about Etsy. I'm actually going to make a full video on this because I think it is worth making a full video about it. But very, very briefly, on the 13th of December, the EU are bringing in new rules, which means that me and many other small businesses won't be able to sell to the EU, and they've included Northern Ireland in this as well. So this means that I am going to swap over from my Etsy to Folksy. This is going to be a big task that hopefully I'm going to do over the Christmas period. But as I said, I will make a full video explaining everything about this. This is going to affect a lot of people, and the thing is, the EU want you to pay for a representative in each of the countries that you ship to. It's just not possible. We don't have the money to do that. As small businesses, I think it's really unfair that this is happening. I don't think they've thought about that at all. So just to be aware that there are changes coming for my Etsy, and there are changes coming for my Patreon as well. If you are one of my Patreons, I have put a full explanation and a full post on the Patreon site, so you can have a look and see what's coming. And for everybody else, I will do a video very soon about this and why I'm going to leave Etsy after being on there since 2012. I've been a really good advocate for them over the years, and now this is the final straw. It isn't Etsy that's brought in this EU ruling, it's the EU, but it's how Etsy's been dealing with it, or not dealing with it, as the case may be, that has made me want to swap platforms. So as I say, after I've processed everything and I've finalised everything, I'm going to make a full video on it. But for now, I want to talk to you about nourishing your body and nourishing your soul. So I feel that it's super important to nourish every part of you. Your body, your soul, your mind, your spirit, every single part of you. And for a long, long time, I've done lots and lots of work on my mind. I've done lots of work on my spirituality. I've done lots of discovering, exploring, learning, growing. And what I've not done is loved my body as much as I could have loved it. I love her from the perspective of, I think she's amazing. I am so grateful I've got this body. I think I'm really, truly beautiful inside and out. I don't have the same kind of body issues that I used to have when I was in my 20s. But the thing is, since turning vegan, I can't even remember how many years ago it is now, but when we first changed and went to vegan, there was hardly anything available apart from the things like beans and lentils and vegetables and fruit and all that kind of good, nourishing soul food. And then lots of companies jumped on the bandwagon and started making alternatives. Sorry for the tip tapping, it's the dog. If you're new to my channel, I have a dog. We have wooden floors. He clops around quite a lot, so please forgive that annoyance in the background. And as we were meat eaters for most of our lives, there are things that you cannot get from eating a vegan burger, for example, that is like all made up of vegetables and nuts and seeds. You just can't get that same bite and that same feeling that you can from one of these processed vegan burgers. So what happened was, we were like, oh, we can now eat vegan ice cream. Oh, we can now have this vegan cake. Oh, we can have these vegan sausages. We can have these vegan burgers, everything. So everything that you could eat before as a meat eater and somebody that had dairy, you could also get that now as a vegan. And I think the trouble is, yes, it's tasty. It is. And yes, it quenches that bite feeling that you need in your mouth when you have previously grown up with eating meat, but it isn't actually that healthy for you. And anybody can eat anything that they like. It's up to them. And so I'm just talking about my own personal point of view, and I have got heavier and heavier and heavier as the years have gone on. And it's not from a point of view of condemning myself or shaming myself, thinking I need to be thin. I don't. It's not that. But I think when you get to a point of feeling heavy in your body, and like if I walk far, my knees are starting to ache. That isn't good for me. So this isn't about anybody else. This isn't about anybody else's body. That's up to them. I am just talking from my own personal opinion of how I feel in my own skin. And for a long time, Tom and I have said, we need to do something about this. We need to stop eating things that is convenience, things that really are not nourishing us, because you'll eat something and then within an hour you're hungry again. And at one point we did Meal Prep Pro, and it was amazing because you had your meals, but everything was accounted for, all the things that you needed. So it had the right amount of protein in it, the right amount of vitamins, carbohydrates, minerals, all the stuff. Every meal had everything in that you needed to fully function and maintain your energy. And we were surprised. We were really surprised that we weren't hungry. We didn't want to just eat snacks and stuff. We were full and satisfied, and it was delicious. And every Saturday was what they called a cheat day, where you could eat whatever you wanted. And for the first couple of weeks, I remember that we were like, oh, we'll get all the things, the cinnamon swirls, the ice cream, everything. And then after doing it for about 3 weeks, it came to cheat day, and we both said, oh, I don't actually want to have these cheat food. Can we just make something from the meal prep plan? Because it was so good. Now, I am not affiliated with Meal Prep Pro. I will get no money for talking about it at all. It's just my experience of what happened. And then I can't remember why we stopped. I think something will have happened in our life. This is what normally happens to derail it. So maybe it was when the landlady sold the house and we had to move, or, I can't remember really what it was. But there was something where we stopped doing it. Or maybe we went out for a birthday party, or it was my moon time, or, there was something to have a break in it, and we didn't go back to it. And we've been talking about this recently, and I feel now that it's really important for me to start eating better to try and help my own body feel like I've got sustained energy and that I don't feel as achy. When I had my gallbladder issues, if you remember, I did a video about it, about how I healed my gallbladder. Because I was on the detox program for that, it meant no sugar, no bread, no pasta. There was all sorts of stuff. And I tell you what, I just marched up my stairs without any aches in my body. I went for long walks without any aches in my body. And then after I'd healed it, I started eating stuff again. And now I'm back to that same thing. So I'm making a stand that it's going to be different this time. So I actually ran out of video to add to the end of it. I was talking about how I'm going to try and make a difference. So the whole idea was that I've spent so many years working on my mind, working on my spirituality, working on my business, and now it is time to carry on with all that, but also work on my own health as well, which is really important, because without health, what have you got? You haven't got anything, have you? So I'm going to start really making sure that I look after myself. And it doesn't mean that I can't have any treats. It doesn't mean that I can't have pancakes every now and again. Look at my hair. What is going on? I just shoved it on the top of my head. Glamorous. It doesn't mean that. I'm not going to calorie count. I'm not going to stop having things, as a special treat every now and again. Like if I go to a friend's house and they've made a really lovely cake, I'm going to eat the cake. But I think what it is for me is that as a self-employed person, when I'm at home in the day and I'm on my own, I do work, and then I would go, oh, I'm hungry, and I'm hungry right now in this moment. So I'd go in the kitchen, and instead of having something really delicious and healthy to eat, I'll just grab a piece of toast, or, you know, I'll just pop some chips in the oven or something. So I think it's really important that I gift myself that time to either meal prep in advance, because that takes out all of that thing. Like if I'm instantly hungry, I've already got really nice stuff in the fridge or freezer ready. Or I'm going to take the time, like I did today, like you've just seen in the video, after Lucy went and I had my cup of tea and I read for a bit, I then went in the kitchen and actually made some really nice food. That actually turned into tortilla wraps. So I put all the veggies that I'd made and I added ginger and lemon in there, and I made them into wraps, and they were so good, really nice. And I've got half left over, so for tomorrow, which means that tomorrow when I'm working, when it's time to eat, I've already got food made. I just need to heat it up a little bit. So that's what I'm thinking. And I think it'll be a really good idea as well to get back into that. And I don't ever want to talk on this channel and make anybody feel bad about themselves. As I said, this is not about anybody else or anybody else's size. It's about me and how I feel. Before I met Tom, and when I met Tom, I was a size 8. I was skinny as anything, and I thought I was really fat because in a previous relationship, they told me that I was fat every day, and I believed it. And I was a size 8. I was a tiny, tiny thing, but I wasn't healthy. I was living off cigarettes and toast. That's what I was having. So it doesn't matter what size you are. It doesn't matter if you're tiny, if you're medium, if you're big. It doesn't matter. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're healthy. You can be at any of the extremes. And I had all my collarbones used to stick out, and I didn't have my roundness that I've got now. I've always been curvy. I've always had curves, which I'm grateful for, but I was too skinny for my own frame, for my own build. I'm only little. I'm 5'2", so it's not like I'm tall and I can carry off, that. I am only 5'2", and I think there's a balance here. So it's not about how much I want to weigh on some weighing scales, because that's not good for my mental health. It's about how do I feel in the clothes that I'm wearing? Do they feel comfortable? Do I feel comfortable when I'm moving about? So it's all about that. Sorry that this keeps wiggling. It's because the dog is next to me on the chair. He's waiting for his dinner. It's cooking at the moment. So in that little clip before, you saw the Milky Plant. Now, I was very grateful that my friend Rachel, hello Rachel, gifted me the Milky Plant machine and a giant, and I mean a giant, bag of oat groats. She said, I've got some oat groats for you. And then Tom had to get it out the car. I was like, what? It was huge. Anyway, so Rachel gifted me the Milky Plant. I've wanted a Milky Plant for ages. I've got to say a few things about it. It's brilliant that it does make plant milk. What's not brilliant is, so far I've not figured out how to make the plant milk thick enough so it's nice in a brew. I think what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to wean myself over to it. I remember when we stopped drinking cow milk and we went on to rice milk, and rice milk's really thin, and dairy milk, cow milk, is thicker. And Tom made me a cup of tea and I cried. It's like, oh, it's horrible. I'm never going to have a nice cup of tea again. It's really bad. And then I got used to it after a while. And we did try hemp milk, and that was nicer because it was thicker than rice milk. But it had a strange taste to it in brews. It was a bit weird. And then eventually Oatly started a barista oat milk, and that is amazing, and that's what we have all the time because it doesn't sink in brews. It tastes really good. And when I used to have the vegan arts community centre that I opened, that I didn't advertise that it was vegan really, but people that drank cow's milk would come in and I'd give them the barista oat milk and they wouldn't know the difference. So it is really nice, and it is thick and it is creamy, but it's expensive for a start, and it's got oil in it as well, and it's very calorific compared to if you made your own. Is that true? Maybe I'm making that up. I don't know. Is it very calorific until you make it if you made your own? I don't actually know what the calories of oats are. Do I actually care what they are? Not really. But I have about 8 brews a day, probably at least. We are a big brew family, and if you think of how much on top of everything that you eat that's adding on, that's what I was thinking when I said about it. Not that I'm bothered about the calories, but I'm thinking if I'm having a lot of extra in cups of tea every day, then that's going to build it up, isn't it? That's interesting. I don't know. Don't quote me on any of that because I don't actually know. So I think it's one of them things that I'm going to have to wean myself gently over to. So I could make oat milk with the Milky Plant machine and add maybe a drop of my Oatly, and then eventually maybe I can just have it without it. We'll see. It does. So the pros are it saves you loads of money on plant milk. It's easy to use. It's easy to clean. That is true. The cons of it are if you had to buy it, it's very expensive to buy it. It is also noisy. Oh my God, it's loud. Every time it does it, even though I've put it on, I jump because it's so loud. So that's the other thing, it is very loud. And the other thing is, it doesn't make much plant milk until you have to do it, you have to clean it out and then fill it up again. So that's the other thing, that there's like a chamber in the top of it where you put your oats or your nuts or whatever you want to put in there, and it's not very deep, the amount that you put in, so it doesn't actually produce that much until you have to start doing it again. So that is a bit faffy and a bit annoying. What I do like is that it is easy to clean in the way that it's not got any... You know when you get things and they've all got ridges and weird bits that you've got to try and get in and you can't? This doesn't, which is good. So if you do get one, this is a top tip, in the lid on the top, if you've not got one you don't know what I'm talking about, but if you have got one, in the lid on the top, in the middle, there's like a little handly bit, that pops out to wash underneath it. And if you don't wash underneath it, that'll all go manky. But it's not obvious when you look at the lid. It doesn't look like it pops out. So would I buy one? For the amount of money it costs, for the amount of faffing with it, and for the results I've got at the minute, I would say no. But if I can get better results from what I put in, then I would say yes. What I would like is if it had a bigger amount of milk coming out of it in one go, that'd be better. And if there was a good recipe for creamy oat milk. I've been on their website and it seems the only solution is to buy their powdered milk. But I'm like, what's the point of that? The whole point of getting one of these machines is so you don't have to buy stuff in packets. You know, you can just use ordinary ingredients. You see, I've put it in there. I don't know if I can't really tip it because it's going to tip out. I've put some in there and I've put some barista oat milk in there. And when I first sipped it, it was quite tasty. But now it tastes like really thin porridge. Really thin porridge instead of tea. Maybe I'll grate a bit of nutmeg in and just pretend I'm drinking really thin porridge. So again, I'm in no way affiliated with Milky Plant. This is just my honest opinion from what I've done so far. Maybe in the future I'll come up with a really good recipe for it. But I am still grateful to Rachel for gifting it to me. That was a wonderful thing to do. I really appreciate it. And I am going to persevere with it. I am going to carry on and try and add different things and see if they make a difference. On my last batch, I added oat groats and cashew nuts to see if that made a difference. And it was a bit thicker. But if you're thinking of the cost, if you're weighing up the cost of buying barista oat milk or making your own, cashew nuts are really expensive. So I've not come up with a solution. So if you have a Milky Plant and you've got a good recipe, please pop it in the comments because I really want to hear about it. So I hope you've really enjoyed this video. And there's been no nature in it this time, I'm afraid, and it's because it's gone so cold here in Lancaster. It's been -1 in the night on some nights, and there's frost everywhere on the roofs and on the cars. I've been taking the dog out into the park, but I've not actually done any filming because I've had my gloves on because it's been so cold. I have not been able to take my gloves off. But I will do some filming soon because the leaves look so beautiful, all covered in frosty patterns. I'd love it. It's like winter's here now. It's come. And winter's not my favourite season, but I accept it as a season. So it's time to get into that thing of winter's here and what can we do. So I have hung up plenty of fairy lights. I always love fairy lights. I've hung up more to make those twinkly moments, and I've got a book list. So on the 1st of December I've got a whole stack of books I've been collecting to read in December. They're all Christmassy kind of stories, just nonsense stories really, mainly about bookshops. But I'm really excited to read them. It's like my own personal reading challenge for December. So yes, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for being here as always. I love reading your comments. I love answering your comments. If you have any questions for me, do ask them. And until next time, I will send you a big, warm, cozy hug. And lots of love, and I'll speak to you very soon.